What do you like most about drawing?
Drawing.
Why do you like doing it?
Just because it's fun.
Merriam-Webster defines art as something that is created with imagination and skill, and that is beautiful or that expresses important ideas or feelings. These concepts of beauty and expression are two of the most intrinsic aspects of humanity, and have been integral to our civilization for thousands of years. Museums have consistently been an institution through which an individual could admire, learn, or be inspired by works of art.
I like a pale pink color.
But what does today's society have to say about the imperative of creating art, learning about it, or simply being exposed to it? Do art museums still serve a crucial role in our world? The answer is yes. Art museums fill a vital role in today's society by fostering creativity and providing an aesthetic and educational experience through both introspection and collaborative thought. Since art collectors first began displaying their collections for the public to enjoy, the museum's purpose has been heavily debated. Some argue that art museums serve a fundamentally educational purpose to society, while others argue that it is more based on aesthetic.
The fundamental purpose of art museums is to expose every single person that we possibly can to art, to make them feel like we are a place for the community, a place to come and have those discussions.
Most art museums throughout America were established primarily to house existing collections, as opposed to many art museums throughout Europe, commonly called Kunsthalle. These museums present exhibitions that travel and change, often centered around a certain artist or a central theme.
I like that one a lot.
We provide those works of art, we make them available to an artist, to the general public, which wouldn't happen if they were in a private collection, where a private collector might just enjoy them in his or her own household.
If we're solely an aesthetic institution, then we're sort of stagnant, and I don't know how much more we can offer moving forward.
More often than not, museum experts believe that the balance between an aesthetic function and an educational function is one that museums around the world strive to meet.
It's believed that this picture of a little girl was made after she had passed away.
A tendency toward either side of this delicate equilibrium will make any success in serving either of these purposes difficult.
Well, I think they certainly align very frequently. And I think that actually sort of even just debating aesthetics as a concept can actually be very educational.
An art museum's primary relationship is with the public. Thus, it is imperative that the methods through which it reaches and interacts with a diverse group of people and communities is effective.
Teaching diversity within the art lens is very important because the artists are able to convey their culture and then be able to explain to anyone visually what their life is like. And I think that's really important, not only in different cultures, but in the same culture. In America, you look at different paintings and they tell different stories. It could be historic, it could be a point of view of, say, a slave. And each thing is very important that we should always look at, and it's telling a story we should never forget.
I like how perfect it is with all the angles and stuff. It's very angular.
Art educators strive to reach as many people as possible. One widespread ideology to better encourage engaged learning is constructivism. Constructivism theorizes that learning is an active process in which we as learners make meaning, and the meaning we make has validity even if it does not match the accepted truth as presented by any particular culture or profession.
I think it can be a great way to start a dialogue. I think it's also a common language. You know, it's not, I don't know, I think it's just very easy to get people to relate to a certain piece of art, and everybody's going to have a really different reaction. Someone could look at a painting and think one thing, and I could look at it and think something completely different.
We really want to get people as young as possible to make the museums something they're comfortable in, to make art fun to look at, to know sort of how to look at a work of art. You know, what questions do I ask, and why does that look like that, and why did that artist choose to do that, or when was this made, or what does it matter?
In order to ensure the public and surrounding communities continue to interact with the institutions, many museums and schools have discovered that working together to create an integrated art program and maintaining this relationship kindles a continuous interest in art throughout education.
It's teaching the students what an art museum is like. It's really important for them to feel comfortable going into a museum. I want them, whether they become artists or not, to really feel comfortable and knowledgeable when they walk into an art museum. It's something that not a lot of people get exposure to otherwise.
Many art museums also offer various outreach services to further interact with the public.
I guess the message that we really have to get out there is that the museum, to the public who might never visit the museums, is that these things are happening and the museum is theirs. It is the community's place.
Sometimes we'll go into libraries and offer a very similar program to our Glory of Stories. Sometimes it will be going to a preschool or an elementary school and offering, basically it's a tour on the road. And so we will tell them about our collection and tell them about, and we'll have some interactive art experiences while doing that, and then we'll make art together.
Despite the relatively high interest in art among children and families, programs for teens often see a drop in attendance during middle school years. This is likely due to less interest in art as less focus is put on the subject in the schools.
Students start getting more interested in their future, I think, as they get older and they want to do things that they find to be more practical or that they've been told is more practical or that they're going to be tested on. And so science and math sort of take over at that age is what we've found.
The glaring argument against the importance of focused art in the curriculum can be umbrellaed under one age-old question: why?
There has been this shift from STEAM learning, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, to STEM, taking that arts out. And I think it really puts students at a deficit, and I think it puts students who have a creative bent to them, it doesn't give them a place to land sometimes.
While many schools decide against devoting time and money to a course that does not seem to prove itself useful, observations have actually proven that education in the arts is academically beneficial across the board.
Arts education is incredibly important for every single area of learning, every single area of life, I think. I think it makes people more empathetic. I think it makes people look more closely. I think it makes them think about situations very differently. I think, like I said before, I think it's very, it can be empowering. You know, I think once someone feels like they have an understanding of a work of art or they have a way to be creative, I think that can be very empowering.
Drawing a building.
What are you drawing?
Building, a really tall building, like 20 feet tall.
85% of all people are visual learners. So every kid will be able to remember that lesson, that history lesson, that math lesson, that language arts lesson a little bit better when they see the image. And if they created the image, they'll really remember it.
Externally, arts education has proven repeatedly to benefit students' lives all around by reducing student dropout rate and raising student attendance. This is achieved by reaching students not normally reached in methods not normally used. Additionally, average SAT scores were better in both math and verbal areas in those who had taken arts, as opposed to those that had taken none, and scores were especially better for those with 4 or more years of art. Fine arts education teaches not only creativity, but innovation and perseverance. Unfortunately, many schools today, especially those of upper-level education, believe that fine art education is not a viable source for their time and money. This leads to the denial of opportunity for many students.
She's looking at the flowers represent her family.
By not teaching people, by not introducing children to how art is made, works like these seem, really kind of foreign.
I think it's really sad. As somebody that came to art later in life, I think that there are probably a lot of people that don't know the kind of benefits that they could get from art education or just enjoyment from it. And it's such a sad thing when somebody, you know, we have adults in here all the time for classes that say that, you know, I didn't know I could paint until I was 65, or, you know, whatever it is, and they've missed out on this whole part of their life that could have been there. And so I think that if we stop giving students the ability to try new things and to ask those questions, do I like this? Is this important to me? What does this help me work through? That we're really doing them a disservice.
Fortunately, this is where museums can thrive.
This is a place where it should be a community meeting place, and it should be where people can come and experience parts of this particular cultural history that they would like to connect to, and that it is a cultural hub for the community in that way.
Museums are an integral part of society in that they bring to life and to the public that which might not be present in an individual's life elsewhere.
I would really hope that students or high school students, especially if they can't, if they don't have art, it would be great if they would just find their way to a museum, and just explore.
Many students are still denied the opportunity to discover what it is they love and may wish to pursue because of the lack of arts education in their curriculum. Through education and outreach, museum tours, workshops, and incorporated art into the curriculum can give students the ability to explore a new subject and express themselves in a safe environment.